It's very easy, especially in the modern era, with as fast as things move and as fast as media moves, to forget stuff that happened. So, Alex, when we did our 100th episode of the show, we talked a little bit about, well, at least we touched on the idea that we're not really a news program because so many of these outlets will be able to do late-breaking news on things very, very quickly.
24-hour news cycle, also people that post videos daily or close to daily. And don't know if anyone who's listening to this knows this, but we record all the segments that you see on YouTube at the same time.
Yes.
Because it's part of the podcast, so we record the whole episode and then bring it into the segments. So in 1 week interval where we got 3 segments, they are all recorded at the same exact time a week before.
Exactly. So doing any kind of like newsy stuff that has any kind of like time-sensitive nature to it is almost not worth doing at all, even though we might want to talk about it or have things that we wanted to discuss.
Sure.
However, I did start to realize that there is something that we're in a unique position for because we do longer things that are after the fact, is to go back to stories that were very big and then no one talked about them afterward. I don't know if you've noticed that with something like the stuff that happened with Unity, for instance, was something that you would see videos on every single day for about 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. Well, and then I would see stuff when there was any update to it, like Bellular News, for instance. Or like, an update on Unity with their news roundup thing, a bunch of stuff going on. Or just a big in-depth piece on that.
Right. But rarely do we get the opportunity, or rarely do I see outlets that will, 6 months in, a year afterward or something, go back and say, hey, so how did that all shake out? Like what actually happened, and where was the resolution to it? And something I wanted to do, at least on Total Pebble Knockdown, was to take some of those stories and go back and look at what that was, and hopefully, being this far out, has come to some kind of resolution that we can cite. With maybe some more updated, stuff that's happened since, some of the articles that were written, some of the statements that were made, and talk about it in more depth. Now that we're past the time where it was just like every single moment of the day, just getting update. Unity is a good example of that, where, we had so many different updates, and then they changed so many of their policies while Unity was in the process of trying to change how they monetize games used on their engine, and then had to constantly backtrack on it.
And then I think they fired their president or whoever it was in charge.
Sounds right. Yeah, I believe I did see that. And had to make some statements. It's all those times where you see the apology JPEG. You know the apology JPEG, right? It's companies that do that. I feel like we have to occasionally, just to remind people that these things happened, we have to go back to the apology JPEG like months afterward and say, okay, so what did this actually result in? Because I feel like there's this thing, because we have a very fast news cycle, where game companies, or just corporations in general, kind of go, oh, we did a bad thing, get a statement out there, talk about it for a second so that we can say, yeah, we understand we did a bad thing. And then hope that it all just dies off because the news cycle will move away from them and onto something else. And I feel like it's important to remind people what happened, and also if anything came of it, or if anything changed in the process.
Yeah.
And we're probably in the position where we can do that at least, and it would be useful to do so.
And I think that's more interesting to talk about anyways.
Oh, yes.
As we've talked about, I don't really care about much of the news stuff a lot of times.
Yes.
Some of it's interesting. Like, again, we talked about Unity slightly, and I said the reason we didn't talk about Unity is because it was here and then over by the time we would have been able to talk about it.
Yes, exactly. It burned 3 times as brightly and only a third as long. But yeah, things like that. We touched a little bit on, like, when Wizards was doing the OpenGL changes and what they were hoping to achieve with that. And again, the whole tabletop community was talking about that for a good month or so. And it seemed like it had some kind of resolution, but realistically, is it in better shape now? Did they actually follow through? You know, it's stuff that I'd like to be able to actually say we looked into and talked about in more depth, which is probably something I'm going to be trying to do for an episode later in the month, on a few of those stories, to actually go back and revisit them. Like we had said in the 100th episode, we're not a drama channel, we're also not like a news channel, but we do try to stay relatively informed about ongoings in the industry, since it's one we care about. I hope that there are people who might find our videos or, you know, watch this kind of content that also have an interest in what happens with all of this stuff after the fact, after, you know, the chaos of the late breaking news, and would like to get some kind of a retrospective on what happened. And so I was hoping that maybe we could do a little bit more of that this coming year. That's kind of a resolution I had for the show, at least, to, you know, not on a regular basis, but to occasionally, maybe once a month or so, you know, be able to take a story that happened, maybe even one that's lapsed for a while that people barely even remember, and say, hey, remember this? And go back to it. And hopefully people will find that more interesting.
Remember when Bethesda said that Starfield was a next-gen game in your computer? You just need to upgrade your computer.
Yeah. Remember when Fallout 76 was going to have 16 times the detail?
Yes.
Actually, we joke, but at some point it really would be interesting to go back and take a look again at Fallout 76, because I even revisited that on stream years afterward. And I feel like that's one of those interesting case studies of, like, a company losing the plot, frankly.
A little bit.
And what's happening with it now? I've heard some people say they like it more. I don't know. It's very easy, especially in the modern era, with as fast as things move and as fast as media moves, to forget stuff that happened before and ask, like, you know, what did? We forget about this stuff. And then, like, years later, we go, oh, yeah, don't know what happened with that. I'd like to be able to say that we indeed do know what happened with that once the dust settles. And that would be good for not just our edification of knowing how this stuff shakes out and what the companies end up doing, but I think it would also be useful for anybody who happens to be listening out there. So, that's just one thing that we're hopefully going to be doing in the next year. Feel free if you have any suggestions about what you might want to hear more information about, or that you'd like me to look into, or Alex to look into. It's going to be me. I'm going to look into it, but, but if you want us to...
Occasionally I look into things. Occasionally. You do a lot of research where you'll listen to stuff or watch stuff while you're doing other stuff and, like, do that kind of investigation. So I look at a lot of, like, articles and statements and stuff. You know, that's kind of my jam. So yeah. Well, I get to have my headphone in for 6 hours on my work shift, so I kind of use it to listen to whatever.
Exactly. And I usually will, like, watch videos or do stuff while I'm just tooling around downstairs, while I'm in the magic lab here. And if it's something that I can watch while I'm also playing games, so that I can talk about the games and also watch the thing. I have to be overstimulated nowadays. I have to do, like, multiple things to keep me active. The point of the matter is that if there are, you know, stories that come around, we can always look into them, if you are interested in seeing something on that. I have a little bit of a laundry list already of some stuff that I want to do in the next coming months. But if you have some ideas, you just let us know. If you want to keep up to date on them, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I hope it's doing the little circle thing on the subscribe.
You'll have to find out by watching this video back later, Nathan.
Yes, we are. And if you see it pop up on your YouTube, let me know in the comments down below. Hey, see, look, I also brought her around to that.